Vixen.
Hello everyone, happy Saturday. Welcome to another evening of a live talk show. Today is pretty exciting. I'm excited myself. We're gonna have a very special guest here today, and this girl is streaming live all the way from Philadelphia. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably heard of her or seen her story. She had an article that went viral on Facebook. And this article pretty much talks about a presentation that she did, something that was so amazing that not a lot of people think about doing, but she did. Like this was an eye-opening. This was a great example. And I wanted to bring her on live today to tell us that experience, that story, and what it was like. And I'm pretty sure, you know, it was very honoring, it was triumph, it was beautiful. I mean, imagine someone taking your degree all the way from the other side of the world back to the homeland just to present it to the elders that had helped her, that had raised her, that had walked through with her through all the struggles and the war in Africa. So she's from South Sudan. She's going to give us an inside story of who she is, how the experience was. And not only that about her, but she's also a co-founder of NyaEden Foundation. This foundation is something that is changing lives. It's something that is bringing differences and helping young girls back home in South Sudan and Ethiopia, Gambela region as well. So I'm going to introduce her to you guys. Her name is Biel. This girl is phenomenal. We're so proud of her, and I'm so happy to bring her on today so that all the people in the diaspora can go ahead and hear her story. So Biel, how are you?
Hey, I am well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. I am truly excited. I'm so honored to have you on today. I'm so glad you are willing to do this. I know we've been trying to touch base and connect and a live talk show. Bring you on. Today is pretty exciting. I'm excited. I am truly excited. I'm so honored to have you on today. I'm so glad. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So yes, so you have a little article that went viral, and that's what really caught a lot of people's attention. So introduce yourself.
All right. So, well, thanks for having me on. Like I said, it's kind of like a full circle for both you and I, because we know each other personally.
Yes.
And we happen to have the same name. So Mal is the shorter version of Nyamal. We can transform that name in so many ways. So like Nyamal said, my name is Nyamal. I go by Mal, Biel, and I'm one of the co-founders of the NyaEden Foundation. And we aim to empower women through education, peace building, conflict resolution, and the ultimate goal is self-sufficiency. So we did our first trip to Gambela, Ethiopia in November, December of 2019. And that's also was a joint trip where I also was able to present my degree to family members that have not seen me in 27 years, especially my grandfather.
So that happened around the same time when you were taking that trip?
Yes.
Wow.
So it was, it's a bad analogy, but, usually kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. It's a bad analogy, I know. But that happened at the same time, so it was a lot happening at once. Between going to deliver these menstrual pads to the young girls, and then trying to squeeze in time to see family. It was just a lot to process. I'm still processing it now, as being back here in the U.S.
And most people take trips like 3 months back home. How long did you have to do all of this?
So what had happened was,
I like how you start that.
Well, we live in the U.S. and I have a job. Even though I have a nonprofit, I'm building this nonprofit, so we don't have a lot of funding yet. So all of the funding that we get from our donors is going directly to programming. And so I
Wow.
was only able to get a month off from work. So
And
all
you
of this
did all
stuff
that in a
happened in
month.
3 weeks. And then I had to go to Geneva for the Global Refugee Conference. I
Hmm.
spoke there. So I came back to the U.S. for like 2 days and then went to Geneva in engagement.
You went back overseas, that 14-hour long flight.
Yeah.
I would have been gone by then because I know how that is like traveling all the way from DC or wherever you end up leaving. You know, just to do that whole mission to go all the way to Africa and things like that. So what was the experience like there? How was the well, we'll start with NyaEden Foundation.
Okay.
So what is the experience like with the girls, the children that you are helping over there, and you know what you're presenting to them, what you're bringing to them?
So this has been a 2 years in the making trip.
Mm-hmm.
We got sponsored by Days for Girls. Days for
Days
Girls
for
is an
Girls,
international organization that is in over 100 countries in the
Mhm.
world, 6 continents, if not all 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wrote to them. Essentially, we reached out to them and said, hey, this is our story, and we know that when it comes to migration, when it comes to movement,
Yeah.
people don't think about what we have to go through as women when it comes time for that time of the month. When even speaking about it, people calling it that time of the month. It's menstruation. It's a period.
Yeah.
So it needs to be normalized. So people don't talk about it. And
I know it's like a taboo in our country.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's a taboo.
And it's sad too because everybody's in the dark with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, for me, it was a personal thing. I went back in 2014 to Gambela to take my grandmother back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went as an American woman. I had my tampons, I had my pads and Ziploc bags. And then when I saw my cousins and some other young women in the camps, I'm like, what do you guys use when you get your menstrual cycle?
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, well, if we have leftover money from relatives in the diaspora that has sent us money, then we buy those supplies.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then we just use rags. And so for me, it was very disheartening. So when I came back to the U.S., I dealt with survivor guilt.
Wow.
And a lot of us don't talk about mental health, but survivor guilt for a lot of us in the diaspora, a lot of us deal with it. You know, especially when you go home the first time and really see the conditions.
Yeah.
And then my other co-founder, Biel, and I started brainstorming, how can we be of help? Because being here, it's great. We have our basic needs met, and some of us are living a little bit better, even though
And we don't even really think about it
as
either
well.
because everything's
How
there.
can we be of help?
Yeah.
And so that's how the NyaEden Foundation was born. And then we've been doing a lot of advocacy work in terms of this gender issues, and then also when it comes to conflict resolution and peace building, because especially in South Sudan right now, everybody knows about, everybody in the African continent were so happy with our independence. But then when we went into war in 2013, of course, that was, the women are the ones suffering. And so when the peace process was started in 2016, even now, a lot of the women's voices are not there. And that's problematic. So my academic background is in international peace and conflict resolution. So I speak about it's the men that start the war, the women are the ones that suffer, and yet when it comes time for peace building, they are missing at the table.
We're so grateful to have you.
Let's say in the context of South Sudan, if you put a Nuer woman, a Shuluk woman, a Denka woman, an Equatorian, they will be more than likely to agree on a solution faster because they're the one losing husbands, sons, daughters, and things of that nature, where men are, not every man either, it's the elites that are making sure that they don't lose power, they don't lose some of that privilege, if you call it. They don't lose the privilege. So it's just a matter of just empowering. So that's how the NyaEden Foundation was born, and the work that we're doing, it's in advocacy, and now we're moving into programming with doing these menstrual pads. So when I went to Ethiopia, I actually went with one of our member. She is a nurse. Her name is Mana Joak. So she did reproductive health education. So we just did not go to deliver these pads and just kind of leave them there. You have to also educate people so that it's a ripple effect.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, God bless you guys, seriously. Because, you know, of course, living here in the United States is not something we're aware of. Like, it's there, it exists, but it's not in our mind, you know, to think of what it's like over there back home, especially, you know, in development countries where these women and young girls probably don't even know what it is, you know, and that when they're finally introduced to it, they're just very amazed, and they're trying to take in time and observe it and, you know, try to see how this can help them and change them as well. And so, you know, it's a big foundation. It really is a big change. And focusing on those young girls over there and what they go through every day, I can't imagine what they go through every day. I can't imagine their days going to school. I can't imagine, like, their wedding days or things like that, you know, that we naturally just go through every day, you know. So what were their stories like to you? Like, was it, you know, I'm trying to imagine it, you know, like, was it the most unimaginable thing in the world that, you know, we're so happy that you have presented this to us and it has really transformed our life in such a huge, magnificent way? Yeah. So what were their stories like?
In terms of the girls, the young women, they were elated. Their happiness was just, it was unexplainable, because
that's what I had a hard time with, you know, because these are the kind of things you can't just say.
No, you can't say, you have to experience it. And for me, one of the memorable moment, one of the moments that's going to stay with me, and of course, I literally just came from a conversation about a book that's entitled Me and the White Supremacists, and how in the NGO world, there's the white savior complex that we have to interrupt. So for me, I'm very intentional, and even the way that I present myself in the spaces that I'm in, I'm very intentional. So when we went to 3 sites, we went to a boarding school, we went to a school in the refugee camps, one of the camps, and then we also delivered some products to the women in the prison, because that is something that is not even thought about either. It's an afterthought. So in the boarding school that we went to, it's, of course, we do know that the Gambela region actually have its own conflicts in terms of the ethnic groups there. So this boarding school that we went to had all of the young girls from all of the ethnic groups in Gambela in the same school, being educated together and building those relationships between those communities through the young women.
Is it very different to, like, present this foundation in Gambela and also in South Sudan? Was it a little difficult? Or was it the same experience? We did not reach
all the way to South Sudan because the conflict is still current and our resources were not that much. So we stayed in Gambela, and then, of course, Ethiopia is one of the biggest, next to Uganda, is one of the biggest countries that serving the South Sudanese refugees.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in terms of conflict resolution as well, host communities and resettled communities often have conflict, where the host communities feel that the refugees are the one getting everything and we're being neglected, if we're talking about developing nations. So our strategy was, we'll divide whatever small amount we have between the refugees and the host communities.
So tell us a little bit, like, what did you see in the refugee? What was the lifestyle like there? How did people interact with each other? As far as, like, what we see in the mainstream media about refugees, especially in, like, Kokuma camp or, like, southern Ethiopia or Kobo, all those other camps there in South Sudan and also in Ethiopia. What was the lifestyle like there? What was for women?
Well, it's like any of us. You know, it's like, it's basically living. It's life. You have to live there until you either go back to your country or you get resettled to a third country. People are living their lives. They're surviving. They're in survival.
Yeah.
They're trying to better themselves. We met with about over 200 girls, 200 young women that were in school.
Wow.
And the oldest student was a 39-year-old woman. She was in the 11th grade.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of girls.
If I could be in these classes and motivate these young women to get educated, then their circumstances will change. And one of the things that I talk to them about is, of course, me coming from the West. My partner and I that went together. You know, she's a nurse. She presented herself. She's like, I'm a nurse. I went to school. And talking about norms, cultural norms of African women, young girls being married at an early age because of bride price and things of that nature. And then also feeling pressure also from your own fear of maybe you choosing to be educated and not getting married at an early age. And
I was going to come to that too.
So we typically talk about ending early child marriages as well, as much as the reproductive health and as much as just choosing education, because once you're educated, you'll be able to interrupt a lot of cycles in your family, in your community, your country, and ultimately being a global citizen.
And do you think this foundation is creating those changes and is progressing as far as girls going to school and going to college and becoming independent on their own without having to go into an early marriage just because of a menstrual?
It's changing a little bit, but it's not as rapid.
Yeah.
You have to realize that we come from communities and we come from traditions that are still very hard to break out of.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
But we were very hopeful with what we saw. Young women are choosing to take their own future into their own hand, per se.
Wow. No, that's a big change.
Amazing.
That's a good change.
Amazing. A lot of the young women we spoke wanted to. One in particular was 36. She had 6 children, and she was in the 9th grade. And so when she passed the 8th grade, her husband was like, "I'm very proud of you. I want you to continue with your education. So I'm going to help out in the house a little bit more." And she wanted to become a midwife because that's a problem she saw in the community.
Yes.
That when these young girls or these women are having children, a simple, easy solution that could be fixed and could be avoided often isn't. And the child ends up losing his or her life, or the mother ends up losing, her life in the process of it. So she wants to be that change.
Wow.
She just needs resources.
I know in our culture is having children is almost like a priority. Or maybe I wouldn't say priority, but it's because of, the lifestyle and the culture we grew up in and having children. But do you think that that part of the culture is changing because women are starting to realize that, I can be independent or I can just go to school and, because it takes the little change like that to have a menstrual in order to be able to do your free will things, go swimming, go hang out with your friends, or go to the mall. Like the period wouldn't stop you from doing anything. Do you think that's changing the culture a little bit as far as having many children as well?
No, it's you have to think. So even the question, actually, you're asking it from a Western perspective. Listening to you, you're asking that question from a Western perspective, and even saying that these women want to be independent and so forth. In terms of independence, African women have always been independent, but it's just been in the context of a community, in a context of a family. It's not this Western independence of, I must leave the community and go out there.
You can say it way better than I can. Do that again. Yes, independency over here.
So we as African women have always been independent. It's just in the context of community, because we are still indigenous people and still believe in the concept of I am because we are. So in terms of the menstrual cycle thing, is basically is the young women that are going to school that do not have the resources, that are like, this is going to be able to help me to go to school. So when we were talking to one of the principal in the camp school that we went to, he was concerned because some of his students would miss a week, and he was like, "Did they drop out? You know, then they would just consider them dropouts." And he implemented almost like a case management program where he would have one of the counselors go see this student, and then they would find out that, oh, I didn't come to school that week because I had my period.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that the women were really happy about, and particularly in
and most of them too, they don't like to come out or be close to someone else when they're going through that menstrual cycle as well.
Well, how can you come out when you're bleeding?
Yeah.
You're bleeding, and you just have to sit at home and make sure you don't stain the clothes that you have.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that this young particular woman said to me was, she didn't even know that we had, they called them modesties.
Oh.
Even in the conversation,
over there.
it's still very tabooed. So she said, well, we're lacking modesties. And Mana and I had to look at ourselves like, what are modesties? And so she said, well, you know, when it's that time of the month, it's very difficult for a lot of us to actually be engaged citizens, because we have to hide.
Isolated.
We don't have the products. So when we told them that we had these products, they were so happy. And in one of the interviews that she stated, and she was speaking in Noor.
Okay.
And it really touched me, because I'm like, this is deeper than deep. She said, now I can be a human among humans. I'm just like, it's not the direct translation in English doesn't work. But in Noor, you know, she said,
oh, okay, yeah. That's deep.
You know, so, and that was speaking to her dignity.
Mm-hmm.
She can now have dignity and be among her peers, or even if going into the community while she has her period, she's not going to worry that it's going to leak, or she can't go out and do something because she doesn't have the products. She has to be at home. Wow. So for me, I was like, wow. And that's when I realized that what we're doing is bigger than us.
Yeah.
And also when they were welcoming us, one thing that she said that is, you came back and you look like me.
Oh.
And that's speaking to the white savior complex, that it's always white women, white people that are going back to
Africa. Are coming and doing all the charity and all that. Yep. Okay.
Exactly. And also too, in terms of the women, the young women that we help that speak the Noor language, because both Mana and I speak Noor, we were able to communicate with them in our language. And they were just like, this is unbelievable.
Wow. So it's a big change for them too, to know that we have our own children coming back and giving back to the community and making change. And that's also changing their perspective, that it's not just the white woman or the white man that is now bringing all these to save our lives, but our children are returning back home.
And so with the NyaEden Foundation, actually, we're just starting in Ethiopia, because in South Sudan, because that's what we know and where we know. And so we're very much open to other collaborations. We want to go to other African countries, because at the end of the day, both Kuth and I are Pan-Africans, and we're global citizens. For me, as long as we're in the African continent and we're helping our own, it doesn't matter where it is. As long as I'm helping an African woman and she can thrive and disrupt the narrative is being shown that we're helpless, or we're this, or we're that. It's like, no, we're the original women.
We're normal women's.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. I'm very proud of you. I am so proud of you. So what was that presentation like when you brought your degree in front of your grandfather and your uncle?
So when I was packing, literally, right? Because I was like, oh, where's my degree? Because that's one of the conversations that my family and I have been having.
Yeah.
We're talking about societal pressures.
Oh my God.
So I happen to be of a certain age. I'm married.
Unmarried. That's one of the target. You're unmarried, girl. They're gonna say something.
I have been dodging people comments left and right.
So now you're gonna be like, this is the reason.
Exactly, because I'm like, even if I tell them, that I finished my master's degree, I finished school, they're just gonna be like, okay, what were you doing all this time? You can find a husband. But so for me, I was like, all right.
I love our people sometimes. They're so funny in those ways.
I'm like, let me just grab it so that they can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And they can now they don't have to think about the concept of a degree.
Or create their own.
They can see it, or at least they can see the the uniform and so forth, and things of that nature. So I that was like the last thing I packed. Luckily, I had it hanging somewhere in the closet.
That was so beautiful, seeing the banner around his neck, the sash. Yeah. How did he felt in that? What was his reaction? We need to know
the sash was actually, I know most people have like the South Sudanese sash or whatnot. The university that I went to, we have this, our sashes represent where we studied abroad. So I did so I went to Northern Ireland to do some work, and then I went to Costa Rica to do some work. So that was the Northern Irish flag, and that was the Costa Rican flag that were on my sash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This story is only going to get interested, but we're going to take a short break, and we're going to show you guys some pictures of, the sash on the grandfather or uncle?
Grandfather had my sash, and then uncle was the one standing up that I had.
Okay. All right. So we're going to show you guys these videos, and we'll be right back.
Salut à tous, chers téléspectateurs. Suivez les élections présidentielles 2020 au Togo à partir du 18 janvier au 23 février avec la participation effective des analystes politiques de la diaspora africaine et les journalistes de Tempo Afrique TV.
All right, welcome back. Story today with Biel today. She's going to give us more story about who she is and her being a co-founder for NyaEden Foundation with Biel. And we just got into the topic of the presentation with the trip to Africa, presenting the degree, the sash, and things like that. So we weren't able to show it to you right away, but I have it here on my phone, so we're just going to zoom in and have you go ahead and look at the images. And I thought these were phenomenal. So once you guys have a chance to click on the link or her story, you'll see a lot of these images as well. Very touching and very inspiring story. So if you guys can see, just bear with me. So this here is her grandfather. So you guys can see very well. Her grandfather. So the grandfather has the hat on. Of course, he's very old and still can remember and very proud of the daughter for this beautiful honor. And then here we have the uncle. Wait, no, that's the grandfather again, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's the grandfather again. This picture brings so much joy. There's just so much story behind it. Like looking at this picture, it just humbles you. It gives you this pure joyness. And even if I was having a bad day, all I have to do is just look at this image here, and I'm just so honored and so pleased. And he's smiling. Can you guys see that? So beautiful. And the sash, of course, is made in the flag colors because they won't know the school. And as Nyamal said earlier, so she's going to tell us a little more about that. And then this is the uncle, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the uncle. This smile is almost tradition. It brings you back home. When your elders are very happy and very proud of you, this smile right here is everything. It is everything. So you can see the uncle is looking at the cap. Pretty amazing. And here she is herself with her grandfather, and you could tell they're just having that moment. This is momentum. This is the stuff that you don't get to run into often, but this is a lifetime. This is cherished. This is her and her grandfather, and I would be so proud to at least see my grandfather before his time is done and just present to him, like, this is amazing what she did here. Took the trip back home, took that 14-hour flight to present this degree, all the things that's been keeping her busy here in the United States, to her grandfather. Because they're not going to understand just words or just telling them, but actually bringing the material, the equipment to say, this is my degree and this is what I've been doing, then it will give them that respect, that honor, like, my daughter did something so amazing. And that's one thing about our people we love so much. When they want to brag about their children's, they will brag about the children's. This is one of the moments. And this is the traditional kind of a ceremony moment. This is where when you greet your grandfather, you greet the elders, you give them your hat. And I think they like put a little spit on it. And it's actually a blessing. It means a blessing in our culture. It's a beautiful thing. They are very honored. It means that's my seed. That's my child. My child came back. My child came back to me. So when you give your head to your grandfather, and they bless it. So that's that picture there. And this is a very touching story. And of course, here it is. They have their head together like this. Very honored. There's no words that can describe this woman, I would say. Like, not enough words can describe this woman. All I can say is, this is very honoring. This is high of respect. And this is something that a lot of us diaspora here, we need to know, that our old people, this is what they need to see when we bring the things that we do here in the United States. So Biel, let's bring you back on. And I hope I describe it well, but you can help me a little bit on that. If I miss something on there, add on to it and such. So you actually had grandpa and uncle like mixed up. So my uncle was the one that was standing, the one that I put the cap onto. He was the one standing with the two walking sticks. That's my uncle. Okay. And he's actually one of the reasons why I'm here today. Yeah. During the war in 1991, when Mengistu Haile Mariam, yep, that's my uncle. Oh, wow. When Mengistu Haile Mariam was being overthrown by Meles, we had to walk from Ethiopia to Sudan, and so I remember that war. Was that the 1991 war? Yeah, 1991 war. Okay. In Ethiopia, when the whole government being changed. So it was my uncle and my grandmother. We did the walk with my stepmom and aunt and so forth. So he's one of the reasons why I'm here today. How old would he say he is now? I mean, this is very historical. So he said he's in his 90s. We really don't know. He's the oldest of my mother's mother, so my grandmother, my mother's mother. He's the oldest child. Yeah. And I took my grandmother 5 years ago back to Ethiopia. She spent 3 weeks there, and she passed away the day that I was leaving Gambela, and I left in Addis in the evening. At least you got to see her as well. She got to see her son. She got to see everybody. And then she said, I'm good, I can transition. Wow. And that was like how many years ago? Five years ago. So my uncle saw me 5 years ago. And then my grandfather, the last time he saw me, I was 7.
So it's been 26, 27 years since you've seen me.
La population, elle est doublement victime.
That's a long time.
Bon.
Yeah.
Pour moi,
but that's what happened with displacements. And I'm sure you have your own story as well, families. Not having, seeing you as a young girl, and now when you went back, you know, as a mother with children.
How old were you at the time?
What time?
During the war,
I was six when we walked to Sudan, and then when we walked back, I was 7. And then my family was resettled as refugees to the U.S. in '96 when I was 10.
So when you tell them that
people, don't be counting my age.
I won't.
You know, people are out here like
probably sometime in my own little moment, I'm gonna count your age.
It's all right. I'm not ashamed to say my age as Black don't crack.
Wow. I mean, you were a baby, and you know, I remember a little bit about those war times, and I remember being carried as one by. I don't remember if it was my father or an uncle. There was 2 men carrying us because there was about like 4 of us, 3 of us at the time. So my dad was carrying 2 children, one on this one, one on this one. And then I was the child that was being carried in the back or on the neck. Yeah. And those are like little flash memories that I have reading your story during that time when we had to get displaced out of Gambela during the war.
Yeah. And so for me, I remember vividly, and that's something
I need to talk to you more about this.
I'm also very, my other passion is in mental health.
Yeah.
So mental health is something that I'm also very passionate about as well. So you do as a child, if you have a happy memory, you will remember that. And then if you have a traumatic memory, you will remember that or you will repress it. So for me, I believe it came back when I did my master's. When I was doing my master's degree and I was doing conflict resolution. So one of my classes, I had this phenomenal idea that I was going to do a research paper on the Rwandan reconciliation. And that triggered me. It brought back a lot of the memories. And I was like, why am I having all these dreams and things of that nature? So I had to learn how to self-care when it came to my mental health, because when we come here, we don't take care of our trauma, we don't take care of our mental health needs. We just go into survival.
Yeah.
And then also as Africans,
how do they affect you though when those memories come back?
Yeah, your repressed memory do come back. And it's not just those of us that have experienced war, because migration in itself is traumatic, because who wants to leave their home if you are not forced, whether it's war or it's economic, and now it's climate migration. So those things are impacting us on a different level. And then when we come here as Africans, as brown people, when we come to European countries that are mostly white, we have to deal with racism. We have to deal with some of us living in low-income communities with all of its...
and we're so weared out, we don't even want to deal with that anymore, you know?
It's not even about being weared out. It's about survival. You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
Because now you have to survive and live here, but then also family back in whatever country you come from are depending on you.
Yeah.
Because the perception of America was through media.
Yep.
Or the perception of America is through some of our people that go home and go and floss.
Yeah.
I remember some of the aunties were asking me this trip, but particularly the trip that I took 5 years ago, because they thought I was going to come back and eat out at the restaurants and think, I'm like, no, I'm eating home. I don't have money. I'm a college student with student loans. I'm broke as a joke. So I'm like, the food you guys cook is what I'm eating.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're not going to go stay at the hotel? I was like, no.
Yeah.
I had my mosquito spray.
And you know, they love that a lot. They love it. Especially when you come to Africa and you do what they do. It's very honoring. I learned that too myself, you know. they were going to get me a hotel, or they want me to go eat at a hotel. And I said, no, I'm going to eat what you guys eat. I'm going to sleep where you guys sleep. If you guys sleep on the floor, we'll sleep on the floor. If we're going to sit under a tree to have our lunch or dinner, we're going to do it there all together. And to them, that's amazing to them. It gives them that different level of respect that, oh, you didn't go to America to come back and brag about your new lifestyle, or, you think you're all that or anything like that. So kind of like you mentioned earlier in the conversation as well, like you came back as you. You were 100% you. Yeah.
Yeah, we had conversations. A lot of the women were talking about skin bleaching.
Yep, that's one of them.
That was one of the biggest things, that they were like, you came back as you didn't change your color.
Yep.
You're still proud of who you are. Mm-hmm. Of course, they didn't get my style.
And your natural hair.
And I did go like this because I'm like, this is me. I'm showing up in spaces as me, and this is what I feel. So there's nothing wrong with women that put extensions if that's what makes them feel beautiful. Mm-hmm. Because we've always done it as indigenous African people. We've always had hair extensions.
Yeah.
Hair is just.
Hair was created in Africa.
So,
yeah.
But this new perception of European beauty standards being imposed on us, they didn't take it to that concept, but I took it there. But they were very much appreciative of me coming back.
I respect them bringing that.
And they actually made fun of some of the people that go back and portray Americans wrongly.
One of the elders, that's what I wanted to say. One of the
elders was like, "Oh, my daughter, you didn't come back walking like this with your nails, because your people." She's like, when people come from America, they were like, "Oh, I can't touch anything, my nails."
Oh, you left melanin, you came back with no melon.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I was like, well, Grandma, I do have
you
my
left
nails
with one
done.
outfit, you came back with like fancy clothes, and even some girls out there, I say it's ridiculous. Like, you're gonna pack heels. Where are you gonna wear it?
But here's the thing, though: African women, their fashion is on point.
They are now. Yes.
We fell under dress. My cousin and I, Mana and I, fell under dress and a lot of the things because we didn't want to do too much, because a lot of people go home and they're wearing evening gowns and things like that. We just had regular summer dresses.
No, I just don't respect the people who actually do it just to feel good, just to bribe, just to boast, Yeah, because
there's places and things for everything. So we went to a wedding, we dressed up a little bit more because we knew everybody was going to show up and show out. So we're like, hey, we're going to do the same thing. We're in the market, you may never know.
Oh, they're really up to fashion. I remember we were going to a concert party. It was a one-piece concert party, and my friends were like, "No, we're going to dress you up." I said, "Why?" They're like, "No, this guy is gonna be looking at you, and he's a musician too. He's an artist." And I was like, "I don't need to dress up for him. I can just go with what I have." And I was having like what I have on right now is pretty much something you can wear on a normal date light, because it's just a flowy, simple dress. It doesn't have a lot of edge where it shows your curves or anything like that. Yeah. But the other dress that they want me to wear was too sexy. And I was like, no, this is too sexy. I can't wear this here. They're like, no. Even my sister was like, can you bring me those little shorts? Like the ones that literally almost shows your butt, I said, I've never wore those in my life. How can you wear those here? They're like, oh, it's fashion.
I think as Africans, we have a different perception of Africa, and we have a different as Africans in the diaspora, we also have to check our mentality and how we think about Africa. Because even in conversations that I have with people, their perception of Africa is through the lens of Europeans. Unless you actually go home and really experience Africa, because it's the whole, people are suffering, people are in huts. Yes, there is suffering, and yes, we also have cities. We also have economies that are thriving faster, that
even have Wi-Fi in the homes.
Than European. So it has to be a balanced narrative. Even on your show, it has to be a balanced narrative. Yes, we're dealing with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And that's life. But we also have to show the beauty of us. Right now, especially with the year of the return in Ghana, a lot of African Americans are going back home to reclaim their
ancestors'
identity.
Yep.
And of course, now Benin is a part of it. Nigeria is a part of it. Yeah. I don't know if Togo is going to come through, but I have a couple of Togolese friends. I'm like,
even Ethiopia too. They have a land that they gave to the Rastafarians that are coming from you probably heard of it. Shashamane.
Yeah, Shashamane. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but I do think that your story of you coming home and bringing your master's degree, letting them know this is what I have been doing all of my life, will kind of create that balance with the fast economic that is growing in Africa, because then they're also thinking that what is our children doing in the diaspora? They're not coming home. They're not thinking of us anymore. We're fine now here in our country because everything have developed. They can buy a flat screen TV. They can have a smartphone. All of that have really changed dramatically in the last 5 years in Africa. And so you being the first child in the diaspora going back home to say, I'm still normally me, and even if I come here wearing a normal dress, like you said earlier, we have to check our mentality too, because we don't realize how fast it's growing in Africa as well. So when we come there, it's also a culture shock for us, to say, wow, this is how much I've changed. So we become more proud. And all of our degrees and everything we have worked for in the diaspora countries, that we will be able to invest into our countries as well, as far as how far it had come so far,
And I think for me, in terms of taking my degree back, it's because of where I come from in particular. And I think also when we're talking about the African narrative, we have to be careful of saying Africa. We need to, because again, that's what the Europeans are saying, are people that may not have educated themselves or have been educated. Africa is a continent. It's not a country.
Yep,
so
it's a continent.
We have to be particular. So in this sense, I took my degree back to Ethiopia, where my family is at, because the Nuer people were at the border of Ethiopia and South Sudan. So I have family on the Ethiopian side, and I have family on the South Sudanese side. So my South Sudanese side of the family have been displaced back into Ethiopia. And for me, it's I came to the U.S. as a refugee.
Yeah.
So what did I do? All these 23 years that I've been here, what have I done, Yeah. So for me, I have been able to channel into my education. So why not go show them that this is what I've been able to do in the land of so basically, like the elders think of it in the Nuer language, the word that we use for airplane is rinyal. Rinyal, which literally translates into the boat of the sky. So for me to explain to the elders, because they were like, you went to an unknown land taking a boat in the sky. And they would have never thought that we would return. Yeah. And let alone return bringing something. So, or at least being alive. Because when I was little, when people used to talk about the U.S., it was a make-believe place for me. And the fact that I would even come here was like unimaginable. And so for me, it was just, this is what I've been working on. And like I was saying earlier, as also a young woman, a young African woman, we have added pressures of marriage, of, being a certain age, you're supposed to have been married, you're supposed to have children and things of that nature. Yep. And so I personally been battling all of these cultural norms that have been imposed on me for choosing education, for choosing to interrupt poverty. And so for me, it's like, hey, look, I have obtained this educational degree, and now if you guys want to bless me and ask the ancestors, ask God to bring me my life mate, then I'm ready to do it because I'm able to contribute to my household. And when I was talking to the young girls in the schools, we have a proverb in the Nuer language, or even in the American language too. It's like one hand cannot clap itself, but two hands can clap. So imagine if my life partner has his education, I have my education. We'll be able to contribute at an equal rate than one person taking on all the burdens.
Yeah.
So that was the way that I explained this, and they were very happy. They were just happy that I came back safe.
Yes.
Because they do also hear what's going on in the U.S. African people are more informed about American politics than we are.
I agree.
So police brutality was a conversations I had with elders.
Wow. Well, this has been an amazing story, and I'm glad we are able to share this with the rest of the world. So now we only have a few minutes left, and we're going to go ahead and, close this up. And again, it was amazing telling those experiences and listen to your side of the story as well, what it was like, being a diaspora and connecting with your family back home, and your hard work with your degree and the foundation, NyaEden. So what advice would you like to give out there to the diaspora, or what would you like to say that would be your final moments?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for bringing me here on your platform to share. And I am extremely proud of you, because I know how hard you've worked to be where you're at now. And so your story is also a story of testimony.
Thank you. I believe testimony is everything, because if we could tell our testimony changed lives. It changed lives.
One of the advice I would say is nothing is too small. Nothing is ever too small. So it does not have to be an organization. Even if you're just individually going home and taking an extra suitcase to give to those non-relatives that you have, you don't know the impact that you're making on a person's life.
Wow.
So just be intentional about how you present yourself, how you walk in your life, and helping others, because the ripple effect is maybe so small. What you're doing, you may think is so small, but you don't know the degree that is going to show up.
Small things do matter. Yes,
small things do matter. And there's this African proverbs. I love African proverbs. It says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Is that real?
That was a good one. I love it.
I mean, I went back with mosquito spray. So just think about it. If a small mosquito can interrupt your entire life, you're afraid to go home because you think malaria is going to get you. But what can you do as a person to impact your family, your community, and your nation?
All right. And then one last thing. How do you want people to reach out to you? How do people donate, or how do people support this cause, NyaEden Foundation? How can we help you?
So we are on Instagram as NyaEden Foundation. We are on Facebook as NyaEden Foundation, and you could go to our website at www.nyaedenfoundation.org. You can donate there. You could reach out to us, support us in whatever way. It can even be words, because some of this work, a lot of us do it for the heart of it, not for the recognition. So sometimes when you feel like, why am I doing this? It helps to just have somebody say, sis, keep going. You're in my prayers. You're in my thoughts. As simple as that. So you guys can come to our website, donate. Reach out to us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we'll appreciate everything.
Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful evening. So we wish you all the best in all that you do, and we're going to continue to watch you grow as well, and we would love to bring you back sometime in the near future. Whatever you guys have going on, we're here to support as well. This is a TV channel airing everywhere, all over Africa, from all the voices of diaspora. So we're here to support any cause or whatever you guys like to put out there. So I appreciate you coming on today. And we'll continue on in the near future. So
well, thank you again for having me.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.